breastfeeding support. The Economic Community of Central African States opts for improved integration during the 17th Summit of Heads of State and Heads of Governments as a prerequisite for economic rebound and development. For joining us, those were the headlines of the 7:30 News.
Each of us must comply with the measures that have been taken.
The three papers compromised during this year's baccalaureate examinations are set to be rewritten on August 3 and 4 this year. Authorities of the Office du Baccalauréat du Cameroun, who regret the examination leak, are working tirelessly to avoid a repeat. Ewane Paulin reports that measures have been taken to ensure that the physique, sciences de la vie, de la terre and chimie are rewritten in a highly secured environment.
Following the counseling of the baccalaureate examinations by the Minister of Secondary Education, the Crise, Data and Information Technology subjects, which were compromised, will be rewritten as from this Monday, August 3rd to the 4th, according to officials of Office de Baccalauréat du Cameroun.
As far as measures are concerned, we have proceeded to the selection of new examination papers. We have an examination papers bank, so there is no question of resetting examination questions. As far as the responsibility of the Office de Baccalauréat is concerned, I think we have reinforced our strategies, our methods to protect question papers. For the practical aspects, I think the chargé de mission and their auxiliaries, the chief of secretariat, they are all ready to start on Monday.
Over 54,148 candidates are expected to rewrite the physique, sciences de la vie, and de la terre and chimie subjects. They will be sitting the examination in 294 sub-centers across the country.
Still on examinations, candidates of the Brevet d'études du premier cycle BPC have rounded off the written phase today throughout the national territory. The subjects initially scheduled for yesterday and pushed forward to today due to the Feast of Tabaski went on hitch-free in most institutions. The principal of Government High School, Kerozok in Yaoundé, Elizabeth Ngongo Esomba, now states how the exercise went on. Take a listen.
In this center, for the BPC, we had 803 students, but 13 are absent. And today, as you are here, they're writing Anglais, SVT, and a pre-facultative. For barrier measures, we have water, we have soap, we have the children have their gel, individual gel, and the mask, and the number is respected, 24 per class.
In one of our top stories, the just ended 17th Summit of Heads of State and Heads of Governments of the Economic Community of Central African States, ECCAS, recorded far-reaching resolutions. At the deliberations where President Paul Biya was represented by Prime Minister Joseph John Gute, the members uphold that the reforms undertaken by the organization will accelerate integration in the region. Here's an excerpt of the declaration of the head of government after the discussions.
We had very important discussions, and we think that henceforth the ECCAS integration will be carried on full swing because all the instruments have been laid out for veritable integration.
The Investments Promotion Agency is empowering youth organizations and operators of small business ventures in the country. It has signed a convention worth 23 billion CFA francs with companies involved in the agro-food industry. According to the Director General of the agency, Marthe Angeline Minja, the agreements will lead to the creation of some 900 jobs. Lekiate Gertrude, Asongazi reports.
The conventions signed between the state of Cameroon through the Investment Promotion Agency and two agro-industrial companies located in Douala and Gaoundéré are expected not only to increase the standard of living for Cameroonians, but boost employment.
It's very important because we start seeing companies coming from the hinterland, which also creates a lot of employment out there for them.
Both companies will invest close to 23 billion CFA francs and create some 900 jobs. The Investment Promotion Agency is poised on accompanying these companies in attending their objectives.
We want to go down on the field and exactly, follow up these companies so that we can evaluate the fiscal nature of the benefits both for government and for the private sector.
Since 2014, the Investment Promotion Agency has signed some 228 conventions, creating 75,000 jobs and close to 4,023 billion CFA francs pumped into the economy.
Away from the center region,
through their leaders are therefore called upon to give their inflation support to the head of state, to the administrative authorities, by creating a conducive environment for peace and long-lasting security in our region.
Leaders from all walks of life have been part of the security meeting, where the city mayor also cried out for peace.
I know peace is the fruit of sacrifice, dedication, commitment, perseverance, love for one another.
Governor Afrique has praised the defense and security forces for their efforts at restoring peace and has cautioned civil servants against absenteeism, using the crisis as a pretext. He recently signed 100 decisions suspending the salaries of those notorious for abandoning their duty posts.
Still on security issues, a gang specialized in car theft and ICT equipment is in the dragnet of forces of law and order in Crtv. They were arrested after a joint operation by the police in Crtv and gendarmerie officers in the littoral region. Polycarp Ati tells us more from the south.
For roughly 3 months now, inhabitants of Zio and Bongandoe, all villages in the Ocean Division, have been living in terror as a result of banditry activities perpetrated by Peter Collins Ebechem, aged 26, Terence Appier, 32, and Francis Cho, 39. The cry of the victims of these atrocities have paid with the arrest of this gang of thieves by a joint operation of the Littoral Gendarmerie and the Crtv Center Police.
This gang was put the population of Crtv in fear for the past month. They stole cars, motorcycles, and others. After a serious investigation, our colleagues of the gendarmerie in Littoral region discover guns which they use to carry out their banditry activities.
This gang of thieves, which has been a thorn in the flesh of the population of the oceanside city of Crtv, is under detention at the Crtv Center Police while investigation continues.
As announced in the headlines, the World Breastfeeding Week has begun under the theme Support Breastfeeding for a Healthier Planet. In spite of the numerous benefits of breastfeeding for mothers and babies as the ideal nutrition for newborns, medical experts regret low breastfeeding rates in Cameroon. Emanuela Vemni reports that aesthetics, illness, and sometimes total disregard for breast milk are to blame.
Scenes of mothers breastfeeding their babies are fast disappearing from public eye in Cameroon. Jacqueline is just a week old in this practice and has a story to tell.
At the beginning, my milk wasn't flowing. Later, my baby couldn't grab the nipple to breastfeed, so it was so painful. I fear my breast will lose shape, so I am highly considering baby formula.
Lots of stereotypes surround the noble exercise, and medics are quick to debunk.
Another misconception of young girls and young women is that breastfeeding the baby will cause the breast to fall down early, which is totally wrong. Some people believe that resuming sexual intercourse damages breast milk, and this is totally wrong. The violation by laboratories of the marketing code of breast milk substitutes.
Even when EU health officials think breastfeeding is still possible.
If the mother is sick, she can express her milk so that the baby can be fed. Even during this corona pandemic, mothers affected must continue to breastfeed.
Partners and close relatives of breastfeeding mothers need to associate themselves to the exercise recommended by medics.
Breast milk has been proven to be a natural vaccine for children, giving them the antibodies they need to fight disease. With a balanced diet secured through breastfeeding, medics advise nursing mothers to feed their babies exclusively with breast milk for the first 6 months. Beatrice Law-Samba reports on the benefits of breast milk to babies.
It is known as the ideal meal for babies from the first hour of their lives. Breast milk, doctors say, should be given as much as the baby wants. First, for its disease-fighting properties.
Breast milk from the mother comes with antibodies from the mother, so it's like a natural vaccine for the baby's system.
Natural vaccine for the baby system, also known as ideal nutrition.
Breast milk has the right composition of proteins, carbohydrates, and sugars that is good for the child, and water as well, that you will not find in any other kind of milk.
Plus, medics say breastfeeding exclusively for the first 6 months without any formula will reduce the risk of ear infections, respiratory diseases, and bouts of diarrhea.
Studies have shown that children who actually go on breast milk actually have at less risk of having non-communicable diseases like asthma, hypertension.
Breastfeeding isn't always easy, but for moms who choose to do it, it can be an incredible way to bond.
Skin-to-skin contact that's between the mother and the child increases the bonding in the child. And this has a huge impact on the child's psychology.
What's more, healthier weights for growing babies and reduced feeding costs makes breastfeeding worth giving a try.
And now on to ECCAS of the Feast of the Sacrifice, celebrated by a Muslim faithful in honor of Ibrahim's obedience to Allah. In Gaundare, the Patriarch El-Hajj Muhammadu Abo Usmanu called for the return of peace in the country. He supplicated Allah for the protection of the presidential couple and for deliverance from the coronavirus. Ellis Waji Bangmia reports.
The feast of the Tabaski has come and gone, but Muslims in Gaundare believe the ram is not enough as sacrifice for Allah to answer all their prayers. The faithful say they must equally sacrifice much of their time, even after the feast, in praying, especially during these dreadful moments marked by the coronavirus.
Let God Almighty accept our sacrifice and have mercy on us. We pray for him to heal the world and restore complete peace in Cameroon.
A book titled Le Cœur de Madame Chantal Biya, Incarnation ou Réincarnation du Cœur Sacré de Jésus has been launched in Yaoundé. Authored by a pastor, Reverend Ernest Ebanda, the publication highlights the humanitarian gestures of Cameroon's First Lady, Mrs. Chantal Biya. Inaga Kebe was there and now unveils the content of the book.
Le Cœur de Madame Chantal Biya, Incarnation ou Réincarnation du Cœur Sacré de Jésus-Christ. This is the title of a new book on the humanitarian actions of Mrs. Chantal Biya. The author, Reverend Pastor Ernest Ebanda, is a man of God serving at the Union of Baptist Churches in Cameroon, abbreviated UEBC. Drawing his inspiration from the Bible on the Sacred Heart of Jesus, the young pastor has been fascinated by the humanitarian actions of Mrs. Chantal Biya nationwide. The reason why, on the cover page, he is asking the question if the golden heart of Mrs. Chantal Biya is an incarnation or reincarnation of the Sacred Heart of Jesus.
Reverend Pastor Ernest, his motivation was like, we want to bring some light into and charitable actions of Madame Chantal Biya.
To him, the humanitarian actions of Mrs. Chantal Biya in the domains of health, education, and social services towards the underprivileged, notably orphans, the disabled, the blind, the elderly, sick women and children, just to name a few, serve as a true testimony of the commandments inspired by the Sacred Heart of Jesus in the Bible.
Chantal Biya is unique in her way of applying the merciful acts of charity.
The 96-page book, presented in 4 chapters, is also a comparative note on Mrs. Chantal Biya's heart, which is similar to the divine mercy of Christ. He also describes Mrs. Chantal Biya as a Christian, full of love, compassion, and sentiment, who practices the virtues of Christ, and named her Mother Teresa of Africa. He concludes with a note of gratitude to God Almighty for blessing Cameroon with a woman, a mother, in the person of Mrs. Chantal Biya, who is seen as a special gift from God to the Cameroonian people.
Away from that publication on the First Lady, Mrs. Chantal Biya, a doctoral thesis on consumer protection mechanisms against misleading advertising has been defended at the University of Yaoundé II in Soa. The dissertation of exemplary quality was presented by a visually impaired candidate, Achille Mundang. Iwane Pole reports on the hypothesis presented, which was deemed honorary by the jury.
After 4 years working on the thesis and 1 year of waiting for it to be read, the blind man, Achille Mundang, private law student, defended his doctorate degree at the University of Yaoundé II in Soa. He carried out research on consumer protection mechanisms against misleading advertising.
It's a topic which is very, very important in our market, in economic domain.
According to the rector of the university, Professor Adolphe Minkwashe, it is rare for a visually impaired person to obtain a PhD.
It's the first time we graduate a blind student at this level. This shows that our university tries to be an inclusive university.
At the end of the thesis, defended in front of a jury headed by Professor Roger Mvungu Nzana, the exemplary blind man Achille Mundang was given an honorary PhD grade.
And now on to COVID-19 news. Medical practitioners in the East region are redoubling efforts to oust the coronavirus from their community. With 262 active cases in the East, the health personnel opt for regular follow-up of the patients and the sensitization in the respect of preventive prescriptions. In our tour to the regions, Baldwin Samer at the Public Health Emergency Operations Center conducts a live chat with Dr. Anise Mintop, who is the regional delegate for public health in the East. Hello, Baldwin.
Good evening to you, Esther Kmer. Our tour of the different regions this Saturday takes us to one of those regions greatly affected as far as the spread of COVID-19 is concerned. We are talking about the East region of the country, and our guest tonight is the delegate for public health for the East region, Dr. Anise Desiree Mintop. Mr. Regional Delegate for Public Health, good evening.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Yes, Mr. Regional Delegate, what assessments can you make so far as the spread of COVID-19 is concerned in the East region of Cameroon?
Okay, thank you. The epidemiologic situation in the East region today as followed. We have today 1,003 positive cases. We have today 262 active cases. We have 25 deaths, and we treat 716 cases. And in our East region, we have 12 health districts who are in epidemic, except Kete Health District and Molundu Health District. This is the situation of evolution, and we can tell that today the epidemic is under control in our East region.
Since you say the epidemic is under control so far in the East region of Cameroon, we just listened to you a while ago that you have 262 active cases for COVID-19 patients in that part of the country. What measures have you put in place to avoid further contamination for COVID-19 in that part of the country?
Okay, thank you very much. You know, now we have a strategy to track, test, and treat. And we organize our fighting with different acts of the response: coordination, case management, epidemiologic surveillance, and also community engagement and sensitization. And today, the response are decentralized in all our districts. Then we put in place this strategy of decentralization of the management of COVID-19. And today we have also the collaboration of multi-sectorial sectors. We help us to sensitization for the strict respect of the measure that the government edicts: washing hands and the physical distanciation and the mask wearing.
Thank you so much, Dr. Anise Desiree Mintop. You are the regional delegate for public health in the East region of Cameroon. Esther Kmer, that's the situation in that part of the country. Next
report. Walking the talk to get the diaspora fully engaged in nation building warrants that the parliamentary network, led by Honorable Henri Louis Ngacha, seeks the opinion of all and sundry who came calling with clear suggestions.
The government develop economic structures near or inside embassies abroad.
When you have a Cameroonian nationality, you don't have to lose it. But if you want to be elected, there are so many conditions that you have to fulfill.
With representatives of the diaspora often misconstrued to be haters of the nation, easing their insertion is critical.
When people come from the diaspora, it's a very important time. When they come here, they're looking for something. They're going from office to office. At the end of the day, they get discouraged.
This possibility of the people outside to come here and create some company should be informed.
All these issues, we are going to harness them, and we are calling on our brothers that.
1988, his output was clearly that of a player who had come to stay. In 1990, he moved up one step to wear the very coveted Indomitable Lions armband, never intimidated by the big names he met. The robust and purposeful defender who began like a midfielder was then in the middle of a rich career that saw him sojourn the world to ply his trade, completing a humble but bright beginning.
Tato was midfield player for Kamer. At the time they were playing the Cup of Cameroon, Kamer of Kumba was going to play this match without its kingpin defender, Deep Akem. So Tato was converted now to a defender. And during that match against Etoile Filante of Garoua, Tato excelled remarkably.
And since that day, Tato Eta Stevens saw his career take a different turn, leaving from Kamak Football Club of Kumba in the Southwest Division 2 League to the J League in Japan, where he was the first African to grace the tuft. Trailing along a remarkable passage at the national football team of Cameroon, having stayed in the den for 8 years non-stop, graduating from a short spell on the bench into a starter's shirt for the time he was on board. 8 years of a remarkable and honorary passage in the Lions' den, praised by many and deified by his teammates.
He was a wonderful player. He was a tough guy. He was strong. He had the lion heart, always fighting on the pitch for the country. And his achievement is exceptional. Twice he was the captain of the national team in the World Cup. None have done it before.
The captain has bowed out. Stephen Tato goes at the right age of 57, just when he thought his career as a football administrator was to take off really after spells as deputy administrative director of the national teams of Cameroon.
And may the soul of the lion rest in peace. In international news, the COVID-19 pandemic has adversely affected children globally, especially in the domains of nutrition and education. This is the essence of a United Nations Children Emergency Fund publication on the impact of the virus on children. Charles Abounet spoke to the UNICEF Cameroon representative, Jacques Boyer. This is what he had to say.
We have more or less 1.5 billion children that have been out of school due to COVID-19. I mean, at least temporarily out of school. This represents more or less 87% of all the learners that were enrolled in school or school programs or vocational training, which is a huge number of children that are concerned. And this has, of course, a lot of consequences. If you are disrupting the school program and the school year, the longer you are disrupting it, the more difficult it is for children to be re-enrolled at school.
That excerpt of Jacques Boyer ends this edition of the 7:30 News. But before we go, a recap of our major stories. The receipt of Physique, Sciences de la Vie et de la Terre and Chimie cancelled due to a leak of the baccalaureate papers begins on Monday. Education officials throughout the national territory affirm that stringent measures have been taken for a secured takeoff. And the World Breastfeeding Week begins with emphasis laid on the protection and promotion of women's access to skilled breastfeeding counseling, a critical component of breastfeeding support. Tonight, we talked about the benefits of breast milk. And finally, the Economic Community of Central African States has opted for improved integration during the 17th Summit of Heads of State and Heads of Government as a prerequisite for economic rebound and development. Join Atabadine Umar at 8:30 p.m. I'll be back tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. God willing, stay tuned to our programs. Good night and stay safe from the coronavirus.
In this connection, we should avoid stigmatizing